think about is you make me feel mighty real.
There's a light everywhere I go.
All right, good morning. Please stand and sing This Little Light of Mine with us. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Believe it or not, the music only gets better from there. So thank you all for a great start to our service. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where we join together to create a nourishing liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we like to say in short around here, to create community, find meaning, and
Work for justice.
all right.
Or
We're never sure on that last one, or whether it's work for justice or live justly. You get to say both. The work for justices have it today, so thank you. Also want to welcome each and every one of you to our space today. Embrace all that you bring with you, your unique beliefs, background, lifestyle, experiences, differences, all that helps make you who you are. And this is true of those of you who are in the room with us, those of you who are regulars or maybe visiting and attending for the first time. We're glad to have you as well, as the many of you who are live streaming with us from wherever you're at today too. So welcome to one and all. Glad to have you. I have to start on a really sad note. Our unity candle is lit at the front of our church, which is something we do when we've lost one of our members during the week, and this is lit today on behalf of a longtime member and friend of our congregation, Gordon Larson, who passed away sometime during the night. Gordon's been dealing with cancer for some time, and he's finally left us, so I'm thinking of him and Jean and their entire family at this time. I'm not going to say too much about Gordon because I love the guy, and I will lose it if I try. So we'll do that downstream, but I know a lot of us feel the same way. So, but just a good man. And it happens to be Father's Day today, so happy Father's Day to all the fathers or people who have behaved the way fathers should behave in our lives as guides and leaders, and people who treat us with the respect that we deserve. And Gordon was like that. I'm the age now of some of his of his sons, and so I think Gordon treated me like an extra son in many ways. And now I'm just so grateful that every Father's Day I get to think of Gordon Larson. So, but anyway, we'll have this candle as a symbol of his light in his life. among us. Okay, there it is. Look at that. Now there's another announcement up there that I want you to look at, because our own Rashay Thomas and Jackie Sandberg and Todd Milne and Jackie Sandberg will be performing. This is in the Healing Garden at Sacred Heart Hospital, and it's going to be happening for these 4 Thursdays in a row. So you'll be able to go into the garden and hear them perform. And if you've not heard them perform before, you're going to hear them perform today, and then you're going to say, I'm going to that garden.
That's right.
And then I understand, now Todd, what weeks are you going to be here with Jackie performing?
That'll be the 29th and the 5th of next month, I believe.
29th and 5th of last Sunday of this month and the first Sunday of next month. Todd will be Todd is, our incredible AV tech. But first and foremost, he's an artist and a musician, and I never can get enough of his music. So I'm looking forward to hearing you two musical geniuses perform together for the first time. So, yeah. Okay, now we may forego our greeting of one another today, because speaking of Todd, I have another little thing I want to do instead this morning. Last week I mentioned a book by a philosopher named Harry Frankfurt. I will not give the exact title right now because we still have children in the room, but it's on BS.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Now, Todd Milne came to me after this and says, I love that book so much. Not only do I love it, but I have stacks of it that I like to give to people. Probably mostly people in need. And he has marked the very quote, in all of them that I cited that day, which is right exactly in the middle of the book, which is the definition of BS. Now, Todd has given me 4 books. Said, do you want to give them away? I said, yeah, but I have to figure out a way to do it, because there's going to be more than 4 people who want them. So I'm going to ask a series of questions, okay? And whoever is the first to answer gets to have a book. Answer correctly. All right, so these are things I have often referred to in my sermons. All right, the first one is, what year was our church established? Tom? Oh, 1887. Okay, Mosier. Come and illuminate yourself about BS.
About BS.
That's right. More BS. Okay. All right. Let's see. Who is my favorite thinker?
Matthew Fox.
Eric. Oh, I think I heard. So she beat you to the punch. Sorry, Jackie. But yes. Come and
Yay, Lisa.
learn about BS. Yes, you can share it with Jackie. Okay. What is the type of ethic that I favor called? Humanistic. Oh, yes.
We all got that.
Okay, now this one's going to be a little bit harder. By the way, if you've already gotten a book, please don't answer. You just get one. We don't want to fill your head with too much BS. Okay. What is the event that I believe is coming in the near future called?
I know this one. The singular. Yeah.
Yep. You've got it. Would you like to come all the way up here, Darl? And Edify, the singularity.
That's the answer.
Wonderful. We'll have to do this more often.
Yeah, this
That
is
was fun. Todd, thank you for your generosity. All right, that was fun. You know what? Let's greet one another. We have time. Go ahead. Say hi to each other.
Well, let's say hey. Hey again. Hey again, everybody. Yes, of course. Oh my gosh. Mom, should we go stay at Zephyr this summer? Should we go stay at Zephyr this summer? I want to rent an RV and drive to Nevada. He doesn't want to go. I'll have to drag him. I said, I'm going to take you and my mom in an RV. It'll only be $1,300. He's like, I could buy a new drum set with $1,300. That's what he said. I'm like, I'll take my mom then. Oh, yeah. I really don't want to. If Paul doesn't go, then we could stay at the place. Well, it'll be so sad. He does. And I don't want to fly. We could fly. It's still expensive. It's like $800 for two. Two round trip is like $800. $800. Yes, it's $82. And we'd still have to pay to stay somewhere.
All right, thank you. More time to visit with one another during social hour following the service, so please stay around for that. But we are going to move forward now by lighting our chalice, which is the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
This morning's opening reflection is adapted from a conversation between historian Heather Cox Richardson and Secretary Pete Buttigieg, shared on her podcast, Letters from an American. In that episode, she asked him what people should focus on as we try to bring a better America into being. His response was thoughtful and wide-ranging, and what follows is an AI-assisted adaptation shaped from his words into a more reflective form for our service today. The heart of the message remains his. As we face turbulence in our political and social life, it helps to remember that America's story has always been twofold, a history of both darkness and light. The same past that warns us of what can go wrong also shows us how people have come together to make things better, and one cannot exist without the other. The courage of the civil rights movement becomes all the more powerful when we remember the brutality it faced down. Our country's most inspiring moments, those we admire and celebrate, were born from deep struggle and hardship, and we are in one of those moments now. This is a time to reassert what we mean by freedom, not just freedom from, but freedom to. The freedom to raise a family with dignity, the freedom to marry who we love, the freedom to pursue education, vocation, and meaning, the freedom to live a life of our choosing. These fuller, richer meanings of freedom are part of our shared values and our democratic promise. The discomfort of this moment, its pain, its chaos, is not a sign that we are lost. It's a sign that the stakes are high, that the future is being shaped now. And in this moment of unraveling, we are called not just to resist what harms, but to imagine and begin building what could be better.
We'll now kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds, beginning again with a candle for Jean Larson and their entire family who are dealing with the loss of Gordon. I also wanted to mention that, one of the things that was kind of my intention with the candles of care when I came here back in 2011 now was to really focus these on things that are going on in our church community rather than, turning it into a news report. For one thing, then I get other people say, why didn't you include this, this, and this? But there are some things that have been occurring these past few years that are just, so egregious and so overwhelming that I've kept them on the list, international things, and beginning with, the war in Ukraine and lighting a candle on behalf of Ukrainian people as well as people in Russia being impacted by the violence there. And then came the war, with Israel and the Palestinian people. And then this week, Iran is in a war with Israel, and vice versa. And so Iran is now on the list, too, of folks that we're concerned about. These are just huge events. And I've also realized that in our own nation, immigrants in particular, whether they are here legally or illegally, are living in a very dark period in our country, afraid, many of them, to leave their home, to go to work, to go to school, to go do the legal things they're supposed to do in order to maintain their status. It's even teenagers are being picked up, playing with their soccer team or whatever it might be. It's just horrific. And so I know there is a lot of other things in the world for us to be concerned about. We don't have time for me to go through all of them every Sunday, which is why I have tended not to do that. But these folks are going to make my list for the next foreseeable future until these things end. So you'll understand that I'm including them because of the magnitude of the horrors they're experiencing. and I'm in no way meaning to deny that there's other terrible things going on in our country and in our world and in the lives of others who are not necessarily a part of our community, because I do. So, yeah, I guess I gave those candles already, didn't I? So I will take a moment of silence on behalf of others that you might be thinking of, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. This is the third Sunday of the month in which we normally take up a special collection on behalf of a kindred organization or a cause that we believe in. This month's special collection is actually for my discretionary fund. This is a fund that I use with some discretion, to share really your generosity and compassion towards others, especially folks that are members of our own community that might be going through a rough spot and need a little extra help. Obviously, I don't share the details of who I'm contributing to from time to time, but this is a fund that has always been greatly supported by you. And I get the gratitude when I'm able to help somebody out, but really it is your generosity and your care and your kindness that is being expressed, because that's what the fund is for. And there's a lot of need out there. It's gotten pretty low up to this point. As I say often, these days, just helping somebody pay rent for a month is a huge number, whoever you are. So it's really hard to give meaningful help without giving a substantial amount at times. So I really thank you, as I often do when we do a special collection for my discretionary fund. Really thank you for really the kindness and generosity and the trust you put in me to share this fund wisely. So I thank you again in advance for your compassion, your generosity, as we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world. Oh, use the special collection envelope if you want to contribute, or just if you're contributing online, please just note that that's what it's for. Thank you.
I sing because I'm free. His
They are so happy. Well, we're talking a little bit about darkness and light today. Do the children want to come forward? Anybody who's ever felt grumpy or is feeling a little grumpy today? Or happy? Either way, come on forward. I'm going to read a story today called Grumpy Monkey by Suzanne Lang. One wonderful day, Chimpanzee woke to discover that nothing was right. The sun was too bright, the sky was too blue, and the bananas were too sweet. Jim was confused. What's going on? Maybe you're grumpy, suggested Norman from next door. I'm not grumpy, Jim insisted. On his walk, he met Marabou. Jim's grumpy, Norman told Marabou. Why are you grumpy, Jim? Asked Marabou. It's such a wonderful day. Grumpy? Me? I'm not grumpy, said Jim. But look how you're standing, Marabou said. It's true, said Norman. You're all hunched. So Jim loosened up. Then he ran into Lemur. Jim's grumpy, Norman told Lemur. Why are you grumpy, Jim? Asked Lemur. It's such a wonderful day. Grumpy? Me? I'm not grumpy, said Jim. Your eyebrows look grumpy, said Lemur. It's true, said Norman. They're all bunched up. So Jim raised his brow. Then he tripped over Snake. Oh no, said Norman. That's the last thing you need when you're feeling so grumpy. Grumpy? Me? I'm not grumpy, said Jim. Then why that frown, said Snake. I think it's because he tripped over you, Norman whispered to Snake. So Jim put on a smile. Finally, Jim looked happy, but he didn't feel happy inside. Everyone wanted Jim to enjoy this wonderful day. You should sing with us, said the birds. Jim didn't feel like singing. You should swing with us, said the monkeys. Jim didn't feel like swinging. You should roll with us, said the zebras. Jim didn't feel like rolling. You should stroll with us, said the peacocks. Jim didn't feel like strolling. You should lie in the grass, said the lions. You should stomp your feet, said the elephant. You should take a bath, said the hippopotamus, and make a splash, said the otter. You should hug someone, said the rabbit. You should laugh, said the hyena. You should take a nap, said the alligator. You should eat old meat, said some sort of a vulture. Or some honey, said a bear. You should jump up and down, said the frog. You should sit in the sun, said the raccoon. You should dance, said the porcupine. But Jim didn't feel like doing any of that. Why are you grumpy, Jim? Asked the others. It's such a wonderful day. I'm not grumpy, shouted Jim as he beat his chest, and then he stormed off. Jim felt sorry, a little sorry for shouting at everyone, but mostly sorry for himself. I guess I am grumpy, Jim sighed, and just as he was starting to feel really sad, he came upon Norman. Norman was slumped. His eyebrows were bunched up, and he was frowning. What's the matter? Are you grumpy? Asked Jim. No, I danced with the porcupine, said Norman. He's got some quills. Are you okay? Asked Jim. Well, it hurts, but I'll probably feel better soon enough, said Norman. Are you still grumpy? Yes, said Jim, but I'll probably feel better soon enough too. For now, I need to be grumpy. It's a wonderful day to be grumpy, said Norman. Jim agreed, and he already felt a little bit better. All right, if we can sing our children out to play club. Have fun. Don't be grumpy. As we move into a time of meditation, you're invited to find a comfortable, receptive position. Close your eyes if you wish. Take a few deeper breaths and reflect on these words of ancient wisdom from the Talmud. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now. Love mercy now. Walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it.
You guys are in such a cheery mood today. See what I can do about that. You're immune? You're immune. Yeah, okay. All right. Well, I'm grumpy. Not really, I just look grumpy. You know, I was supposed to do the scheduled sermon was called The Singularity, Humanistic Ethic in the Enlightenment Project. And then all this BS happened this week, and I said, I need to change this and address what's going on. But you didn't change the music, right? Because the music, I mean, it works even better. Yeah, wow. Thank you for predicting the future accurately, unlike myself. So this is the title today. And when Donald Trump campaigned on he campaigned on the audacious claim that if he wasn't elected, there would be World War III. Since his election, the wars that he promised to end on day one have only worsened, and almost every day since has been filled with new stories of the chaos that he is causing in our country and in the world. Since last Sunday alone, when we had just learned of his illegal orders to send troops to California to control those protesting his illegal immigration policies, he has threatened to arrest its Democratic governor for the primary crime, in his words, of running for governor because he's done such a bad job. It was revealed that he flat out lied about having discussed this decision with the governor in advance. A U.S. senator, also a Democrat, was removed, forced to the ground, and handcuffed while attempting to ask one of Trump's cabinet members a question. Full-fledged war has erupted between Israel and Iran. And just yesterday, Trump held a North Korean-style military parade for his birthday. The largest protest in modern history occurred yesterday, involving more than 5 million people, and an assassin, angry about those No King protests, as well as other grievances, walked up to the homes of two Democratic lawmakers and shot them both, killing one along with her husband and seriously wounding the other and his spouse. I don't know about you, but it's starting to feel like World War III to me. Civil War is the title of a chilling 2024 film depicting a near future in which America is torn apart by seceding regions, California and Texas essentially, and the fascist president, overrunning our once peaceful streets with soldiers, guns, and violence. There's a terrifying scene in it when a group of journalists are captured by a homegrown militia threatening to kill them. "We are American," one of the journalists says, to which the militia's sadistic leader asks, "Well, what kind of American are you?" Meaning, which state are you from? A red one or a blue one? If they give the wrong answer, they will be executed on the spot. Civil War is especially difficult to watch because it's hyper-realistic and feels like a warning about an impending possibility that our democracy really will fall if we don't change our ways. Today, this possibility has become a reality. Things aren't yet as bad as depicted in Civil War, but I am not exaggerating when I say that our democracy has fallen. The U.S. is being torn apart based on political regions because of an authoritarian Republican president who is behaving as if he were king of the world. Since those in charge of our legislative branches and our partisan Supreme Court are unwilling to do their jobs by maintaining the separation of powers necessary for our government to function as it should, I am most serious when I say that our democracy has fallen. The events just this past week are proof enough that the rule of law, the freedom to publicly protest and to question our government, the right to due process, having legal status, Congress, the Senate, the Supreme Court, the oath of office, the U.S. Constitution, and for that matter, even science and truth and reality don't mean a damn thing anymore. Not if they conflict with the wishes of our unchecked dictator in chief. Now the only question before us is, can democracy get back up and fight another round, or is it down for the count? it is of some solace to me to believe that she will most likely stand again and do so before Trump's official term is over. If she doesn't, it will only be because he has managed to manufacture some national emergency to justify preventing the coming 2026 midterm elections, which is not out of the question, given the real possibility that our legislative and judicial branches of government will do nothing to stop him. Logically speaking, however, I think that it is more probable that his damage to our economy, the daily chaos upending our lives, and his incompetence, and his executive overreach, especially by militarizing law enforcement in our communities, will also result in his political party losing one or both legislative houses in 2026. And they have more seats to lose. This will restore some degree of separation between the three powers and hold Trump at bay until his term ends in 2028, and then hopefully we will be done with this bumbling, very unstable lunatic. That's the good news. The bad news is that until then, our fragile democracy will be on the mat, undergoing a 10 count that will last for at least another year and a half. That's the reality we're in. If she's unable to stand up again by then, it will be over. Democracy will have been permanently defeated in the United States. If she rises again, and I believe she will, I think many Americans will have learned a valuable lesson about taking her for granted, about the seriousness of U.S. elections, and about the absolute necessity of having a functioning democratic federal government. During his Inauguration Day speech in 1980, Ronald Reagan said, "Government is not the solution to our problem, government is the problem." From then on, the Republican Party, which has held the White House 54% of the time, compared to 46% for Democrats, has worked to weaken, if not dismantle, the federal government and many of the programs that have bolstered middle-class working Americans for decades. During the same period, the GOP has worked to reduce the federal deficit solely by cutting taxes, while always under every Republican administration passing budgets that increase spending more than ever before in history, which is why I have long referred to them as the don't tax and spend anyway Republicans. But the point not to be missed is that since 1980, actually going back to 1968, when Nixon was elected, the GOP has controlled the White House more than not, and also controlled both the House and Senate for longer periods than Democrats have. They've also enjoyed more unified governments, where all houses were controlled. They are not the underdogs that they claim they are, and bear at least as much blame for the state of our nation as anyone else. During just the first 6 months of Trump's latest term, he has advanced the goal of destroying federal programs at an unprecedented rate by firing thousands of federal employees, defunding federal programs, violating federal laws, ignoring federal courts, and worst of all, violating human rights. All while making the federal government a more authoritarian force in our lives and in our communities, including undermining those state rights that his party claims to value so highly. If our democracy is unable to come back from this, and if a greater majority of Americans don't learn from what is happening, the end of democracy and our three-branched federal government will leave a void in how exactly we are going to be governed from now on. And I think we all know who wants to be first in line to fill that void. But again, logically speaking, given the relatively short time between now and the midterms, although it seems like a long time away, and a Supreme Court that has not always fallen in line with Trump's wishes, it is more probable that Democrats will gain control of one or maybe even both houses in 2026, then hold him at bay for the remainder of his term. I'm also hopeful that his disastrous presidency will have a lasting impact on our national psyche, preventing something like this from happening again, at least anytime soon. I'm also hopeful that in the meantime, the Democratic Party will rediscover what it is supposed to be about, standing up for the freedoms and democratic values of that this nation is supposed to be founded upon, and for the welfare of all its citizens, including working-class Americans, not only in its biggest cities, but working-class Americans in its breadbasket, in its Rust Belt, in its mining and factory towns. Those people that are feeling like the Democrats do not represent them. With this glimmer of hope in mind, what can we do now to survive Trump and make a difference? Firstly, as Stoicism has long taught us, we should focus our minds and our efforts on matters that we can control, not on those that we cannot. We do not have the power to control who occupies the White House for the next 3.5 years. We cannot force those legislators in charge of both houses to do their jobs. It's not within our power. We cannot force the Supreme Court to rule based on the Constitution, to genuinely rule based on the Constitution, rather than the shallow and self-serving principles of the political party that appointed its majority, that turned it into a partisan court. We can't do anything about these current realities, nor much about the detrimental and harmful impacts that they are having on our society and in our lives right now. Not within our power. Yet those are all the things we're worried about, the things we're obsessing about. So returning to that boxing metaphor, we cannot change the fact that our democracy has been knocked down. But we can do our best to help her get back up, return to the fight, and win. As one who is very judicious when it comes to involving myself in mass protests these days, yesterday's No Kings protest, which included more than 2,000 events across the country and millions of participants, was extremely impressive. That level of participation has to have an impact. That many upset Americans, that many upset voters, has to make politicians take them and their concerns seriously. So congratulations to its organizers, and thanks to everyone who was able to participate. During most of my life in ministry, protesting has been my primary means of expressing my dissent. But I noticed a shift occurring in them about the same time I noticed it occurring within liberal institutions in general. They've become much less peaceful because of a growing willingness among some participants to demonize their opposition, incite conflict, and destroy property. This has become so evident that even the organizers of yesterday's event instructed participants that if violence breaks out at your protest, sit down. So I'm not the only one who notices this has to be addressed. This is a good way, of course, sitting down is a good way to distinguish yourself as a peaceful and cooperative to those policing such events, hopefully. But it is also a bit contradictory to ask those who have come to stand up to be prepared to sit down. But once violence occurs, it stigmatizes the entire event and all protesters, no matter who is standing or who is sitting. California's leadership has been quick to point out that the protests there have remained overwhelmingly peaceful, despite those who have set fire and likewise to a few vehicles. But such behavior is what the media concentrates on and what others will exploit, as they have. Sadly, this is the problem with taking our grievances to the streets these days. There is always the likelihood that some will engage in violent and destructive disobedience that does not progress our cause, nor that we want to be associated with. Yet the excuse that protesters are mostly peaceful doesn't work. Not any more than when it was said about the January 6th insurrection in the nation's capital 5 years ago. So be judicious about protesting and don't allow yourself to get caught up in any of the hate and violence that even justifiable outrage sometimes leads to. Protests can help effectively shift public opinion or sentiment, especially when the protesters are the ones being unjustly treated, as happened, for example, in 1963, when television news showed the police using fire hoses and dogs to disperse civil rights protesters in Birmingham, Alabama. It was a real shift after that. But such sentiment can also quickly turn the other direction when it's the protesters who are engaging in violence, even if it's only just a few of them. Exposing oneself to violence at the hands of the authorities takes tremendous courage, a lot more than does setting fire to Tesla and Waymo vehicles, or breaking into downtown businesses, or throwing rocks, and so forth. Which leads to civil disobedience. Civil disobedience is another related approach, which occurs when participants refuse to obey unjust laws. Spokane's former city council president, Ben Stuckert, of whom I'm a great admirer, did so just this past week by attempting to block the departure of a bus containing immigrants who had been arrested and were being removed by ICE without due process, an action for which Ben himself was arrested. From Gandhi's historic march to the sea to illegally make salt, to Henry David Thoreau's refusal to pay poll taxes in protest of slavery, to Rosa Parks' refusal to give up her seat to a white man, to sitting at a lunch counter that refuses to serve blacks, to Dr. King's historic 1965 march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, to Julia Butterfly Hill, living atop a 1,000-foot redwood tree for 2 years to prevent it from being cut down. By the way, Peggy and I got to meet Julia Butterfly Hill several years ago, right after she'd come down from the tree. To the ship carrying aid to Gaza just this past week in response to the humanitarian crisis there, an action that resulted in the arrest and deportation of Greta Thunberg among 12 other activists. Civil disobedience has long been a powerful tool in creating greater public awareness, if done right, changing sympathies, and putting pressure on political leaders to finally do the right thing. These examples, however, involved courageous, disciplined, and symbolically appropriate acts of protest and disobedience. Might I also say nonviolent disobedience. History is also littered with examples of protest and disobedience, resulting in rioting, destruction, violence, and the indiscriminate killing and beatings of bystanders. This kind of disobedience and disregard for the law can only hurt a just cause. By giving those we oppose the very excuses that they need to demonize and retaliate against us in the name of law and order. We saw this just this past week in Trump's response to ICE protesters in Los Angeles, claiming that LA would be burning to the ground if not for his salvific intervention. During a speech at the newly formed, or I should say newly renamed Fort Bragg this past week, Trump also referred to the protesters, most of whom are American citizens, as animals, as a foreign enemy whom he will liberate California from. Peaceful protesting and courageous civil disobedience are good ways to help revive our democracy, but it has become increasingly difficult to know if everyone joining us is as committed to peace and courage as we are. So again, just be as judicious as you can and walk away if you feel you are not in the right place. Protest and civil disobedience. By the way, let me just diverge a minute. After the killing of George Floyd several years ago now, there was a protest downtown, like many around the country. And it was after church, Peggy and I went down, and we just so happened to arrive at a spot where the police were standing, just as they were in a line. They weren't interfering with the protesters. Most of the protesters were across the street. They were just standing there being watchful. These are ordinary beat cops. And there were several young people harassing those police officers, trying to evoke an incident. And we were not at all comfortable with the tone of what we saw happening, and left and went home. Later, as things progressed during the night, which is often the case, there were riots and breaking windows of businesses and whatnot, Nike and whatnot, some of you might remember. That's what ended up coming of that particular protest. But we walked away when we felt uncomfortable. It's not cowardice. I don't want to be associated with that behavior. That's not who I am. That's not productive. It's counterproductive. So be prepared to walk away if you feel uncomfortable. Protest and civil disobedience are meant to push legislators and politicians to change the rules. But another strategy, and I think the best one of all, is to work to change the rules ourselves. We can do that. We have avenues. I've marched miles in protest during my quarter century as a minister, but there are only a handful of accomplishments I've engaged in that have resulted in meaningful change. And those are the things I'm most proud of. Before I left Louisville, for example, I was chair of a committee to establish a restorative justice program there that has been working to reduce the school-to-prison pipeline ever since. It took a couple of years getting up and meeting in the judge's chamber at the county courthouse every Wednesday at 8 a.m. before court started, along with working to educate and get everyone on board that we could. The police, the courts, the judges, the county prosecutor, the public defender, community activists, and so forth, all became a part of this. It wasn't easy. It wasn't sexy. There wasn't any immediate gratification like, wow, I've done something. It was hard work. And we didn't even know if we were going to succeed. We didn't know if anything would come of it, all that effort. And few people knew or will ever know that I had anything to do with this now long-standing institution, which is fine. I don't care. I'm so proud that it's there. That's a lasting impact that didn't require me to go downtown and march and feel good about shouting at people. Not to demean the protests, as I said. They can be valuable, especially ones like yesterday. That's very impressive. Louisville is also where I stopped performing weddings until I would be free to perform them for everyone, equally for everyone, including gay couples. I was fired from my secular job for this stance, but that also helped me raise a lot of awareness and support for my cause. And then after coming here to Spokane, I became part of a local clergy group that helped pass marriage equality in Washington State with our People of Faith Support Freedom to Marry campaign. By the way, I'm going to diverge again, tell a little story about this. So I was asked by someone on the city council, I can't remember, it must have been Ben Stuckert, because Brian wasn't on it yet. So Ben asked if I would come and participate in this group to discuss the presence of, God, why am I forgetting the politician now? It's one of those, it wasn't Matt, no, this was oh my God. Well, he was one of these really very conservative Republicans who was going around making a lot of noise. Hopefully it'll come to me. But he was going to be, this sort of big fish in Spokane. Rick Santorum, thank you. Rick Santorum. You remember Rick Santorum? So he was going to come because we were all pushing for marriage equality. We would be the first state in the country to pass marriage equality by popular vote. Everything else was passed by legislatures, and then there were resolutions to overturn it. So some of them were overturned, some of them weren't. But we would have been the first state in the country to actually pass it by popular vote. We needed at least 40% here on the east side of the state, and we only had about 25% favorability 6 months before the election. So that's where we started this campaign. So Rick Santorum was coming here to kind of keep us from building up that momentum, that support. But it was right after Mitt Romney had made his famous 47% remark. Remember that comment that 47% of voters are whatever, idiots, however he put it. And the Republicans were really cautious about letting any recording devices into their meetings. So Rick Santorum was down at the convention center. Big fish in small pond day. That was the story of the day. The news media showed up. Well, guess what? They couldn't go in because they were afraid of being recorded. Meanwhile, outside are the People of Faith Support Freedom to Marry, all these ministers and clergy out there. And that made the news. That was the news because they had to cover it, and we were the thing to cover. Here's the thing. When I was in that meeting, that initial meeting, people wanted to protest Rick Santorum coming to Spokane. And as politely as I could, I said, look, my faith is based on the inherent worth and dignity of all people. To deny a person the right to move about this country freely violates that dignity. I cannot protest the presence of a person because I will be protesting the existence of that person. What I will do is demonstrate my values. I'm willing to stand outside and demonstrate why my values are the better values to live by. And that's where this campaign came from. Everyone said, yeah, let's do that. Let's demonstrate what we're about. We're about people of faith supporting the freedom to marry. And it was very successful. As you know, within 6 months, we had turned it to 45% countywide and almost 50%, I think actually more than 50% in the city proper. So we made history as a state. through those actions. And we did so as a church. Our church was a big part of that campaign. So, the civil disobedience allows us to demonstrate our values, not criticize or protest the values of others. So I was also part of the Smart Justice Council here several years ago that made positive changes in criminal justice. Most people don't remember all those long meetings we went to, but we did, and we made some changes. Not groundbreaking, we didn't change the ground didn't shift, but we've made positive changes to how we do criminal justice in our community through that hard, quiet, unnoticed, unsexy work. I was among those, including many in our church, who worked with Spokane Alliance to get a sick and safe leave ordinance passed, a quality jobs ordinance passed, funding for the WSU Medical School. I was the one who sponsored the local initiative to stop coal and oil trains from moving here through Spokane without significant changes to safety protocols. That ordinance failed, was not passed, but the safety issues that it raised were cited by our governor's explanation for why he refused to grant a permit to permit the construction of a new coal export terminal off of Washington shores. An unexpected consequence, an unexpected benefit. I could go on. I wrote my book, The Gadfly Papers, in an effort to counter the illiberalism that was impacting our religion, and gave it away for free as an act of dissent. It caused a lot of problems for me and for our church, but it also allowed me to get my message out due to the controversy, far greater than I could have ever expected. It's hard work. It's unpredictable work. We don't know what the consequences are going to be, but it can pay off dividends. And it's lasting work. It makes a difference, makes a change. By the way, this is a pretty impressive list. Sometimes I hear, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? I think, man, isn't that enough for one person? What are you done for me lately? I'm resting. I'm giving it a rest. Okay, so this is going on longer. I'm almost done. I won't chase any more rabbits. Peggy, my wife's saying thank you. Jeez. Brutal. Okay, to summarize in 2 sentences, 2 run-on sentences, what I've said so far. If we want to help revive our democracy, we must firstly maintain our own emotional and mental health by focusing on what we can do rather than obsessing about what we cannot do, what we don't have power over. That's first run-on sentence. We do have the power to participate in peaceful protest, engage in courageous acts of civil disobedience, and best of all, do what we can to change the systems, rules, and laws ourselves. But the most important strategy, which I have not mentioned yet, is the power of hope. And hope is not a feeling that we either have or we don't have. It is something that we create for ourselves when we commit to action. It then becomes the very thing that motivates us to act. Erich Fromm once wrote, "Hope is a decisive element in any attempt to bring about the social change in the direction of greater aliveness, awareness, and reason. Thus, hope cannot be passive. We cannot sit around hoping that things will get better on their own. That's not really hope, that's just wishful thinking." Fromm says, "To hope is a state of being. It is an inner readiness, that of intense but not yet spent activeness. Hope is believing that it is up to us to do what we can to make a difference, however we choose to go about it. Hope doesn't mean we will succeed only that we know there's a real possibility that we can succeed. If we act, it is the thing that motivates us to action. Without hope, we will remain passive victims of history, longing for a hero or for some miracle to come along and fix things for us. Our democracy has fallen, but there are many good reasons to believe that she should not be counted out just yet. These reasons are the basis of our hope, not only in her, but in ourselves and our power to make a difference. Thank you.
Our benediction today is words to guide us back out into the world from the late Congressman John Lewis. Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful. Be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a month, or a year. It is the struggle of a lifetime. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.